Friends, hello. How are you doing? It's Monday. I feel good. We got a great week coming here. Great week. It's a big week. I'm excited, if you can tell. So, let's dig into what is going to be going on this week, and let's gossip. Let's chat. Let's make some crazy, expectations of what could happen here. Friends, thank you so much for being here. I really do appreciate everyone clicking on the video to listen to me yap. I know I'm not everyone's favorite, and then some people, they enjoy what I talk about, and I guess I'll keep doing that. But I'm talking too much. Let's go right into this. So obviously tomorrow, SoFi, the big day, and today was your last day to buy in before quarterlies. Quarterlies are coming out in the morning before market opens. So by the time the market opens, we will see what SoFi does. Now, SoFi has a history of following this suit, where it comes out with good quarterlies and everyone goes, oh my God, those are amazing quarterlies. And then SoFi sells off for like 2 to 3 days straight. And everybody's like, what the crap is going on? And then we start to see SoFi hit a new bottom, and then it starts to build up again. Okay, so I would not be shocked to see SoFi, even if they came out with like face-melting quarterlies tomorrow, and they actually did come out with $1 billion quarterly, or maybe they fall short. Either way, I think it's going to be a good quarterly, a decent quarterly. They should be somewhere around the 8 to 900 million at least, I would imagine, with all these loan deals we've seen happen. So with that, tomorrow with SoFi, it may follow suit of what it's always done. Who knows? But too, it could do something different here. I think it's really going to depend on how big this quarterly is. How big is this quarterly going to be? Is this going to be one of the quarterlies, where people can't deny what just happened with it? Is that going to be the situation? Now, so SoFi, we ended today around, above $13, which is great compared to, the damage that the stock has really taken here with the market. But at this point, it is really a moment of, we're going to wait and see what happens with the quarterlies. I suspect either way, they're going to be good. Obviously, I'm in SoFi for the long run. I think SoFi is going to be just a vicious bank company into the future. I think they're going to be a predator to other banks here going into this decade. I think they're going to keep doing well in quarterlies. I think they're going to keep getting people to make accounts with them, get loans with them. What's going on with the student loan situation that's coming up here? This is going to be revenue coming in with SoFi that SoFi wasn't even expecting really this year. It wasn't guaranteed, just months ago, and now it's pretty much guaranteed. So it's going to be on the balance sheets here, the quarterlies here into the future. So there's more things coming here to really push quarterlies this year, and I think regardless, we're going to have a really good year here with SoFi. So wish everyone best of luck in the morning. We'll see what happens. I'm very curious to see how high these quarterlies are going to be. Obviously, I'm greedy. I want them to be just mega. I want them to be like, just to have to be behind them. But we're going to see. And that's all we can do here, friends. Now, talking about Palantir, Palantir has ran up to, this 115 zone. Palantir is looking for this 120 like it was at just, back here in February. Listen, we know, like I said this weeks ago, I'll say it again. We know people do not mind paying $90, $100, $115, $120, almost $130 for Palantir. They'll pay it again, and they'll probably pay $150 here before long with Palantir. So more than likely, these are the mammoth quarterlies. This is going to be Q1 for 2025 here. And this quarterly, I think a lot of us would agree this is going to be the quarterly where we see, $1 billion. We could see the $1 billion be here with Palantir, and that's going to change a lot of things. That's going to change the trajectory of, how fast the stock is running. And if Palantir hits this $1 billion quarterly mark, undoubtedly that, we could be, as long as the market stays healthy here, stays in this little stage that it's at right now, Palantir may not go back down to a double digit. that's the reality of the situation that's going on here with Palantir. But obviously a lot of it depends on the market here. But even when we were struggling with Palantir here, just weeks ago with all the tariff news, Palantir never sold off below really $70. I mean, that's a pretty good argument right there to say that there's a hefty wall there around that $60-$70 range, and people are not going to the people aren't going to be that foolish to sell off Palantir for that low. They're going to start buying it up. This is going to be the situation with Palantir. You're going to have heavy push-ups, especially with quarterlies coming up here. And then, you're going to have your moments of just hanging around. You're going to have your moments of sell-off. But those sell-off moments are not going to last long, because as long as Palantir keeps producing these hefty quarterlies, I fully suspect people are going to come in here with, excess amount of money, pocket change, whatever you've got, and people are going to start buying up shares of Palantir 100%, because the proof is in the pudding so far. And, it's been an amazing investment for people, and it's not slowing down. If we were seeing Palantir slow down, it would be a different conversation, but it's actually gotten more intense. I mean, my God, the company just locked up that NATO deal that we haven't even seen quarterlies for. God knows what that's going to do to Q2, Q3 here this year. And then on top of that, Palantir it's been in the White House, but I mean, it's even more in the White House than ever, because, Alex Karp and, Elon Musk are rubbing shoulders. Alex Karp's in the White House. We know he's talking to people, and the defense contracts, I mean, not to mention just every other contract that this company is getting. So they're printing money almost at this point, considering where they were just 2 years ago. But next Monday, they will be releasing their quarterlies, May 5th, after market close. So that right there will be a big moment for Palantir. And listen, that is a long ways away from right now. So Palantir could easily run up back to this 120, 125. I don't know. Maybe it could go more. It depends what the market's going to bring this week. But, people are trying to get in while they can. People are getting in while they can. We've seen AI stocks do ridiculous things here, and Palantir has been in that conversation 100%, where we've just seen Palantir do just remarkable, silly things. I talked about, for a long time, I talked about the Dan Ives conversation, where Dan Ives has been saying he believes that Palantir is going into the $1 trillion market cap. He believes that Palantir more than likely could be somewhere around like the 2023 mark where Oracle was, and that Oracle in 2023 had a hellacious run in their stock, and then in 2024 it just continued. So and now look at where Oracle's at. I mean, just, obviously Oracle's making a lot more money than Palantir, but when we're talking about a valuation just keeps stepping up, when each quarterly comes out, it's like, oh my God, they 30, 35, 40, 45, we're going to get in the 50 zone here, 50% zone here on top of each quarterly. And that's what you're seeing here with Palantir. Now, Oracle has somewhat slowed down, but they're still bringing in hefty quarterlies. But Palantir is still trying to find this. It hasn't found its plateau of earnings yet. That's the dangerous, fun part of what's going on right now with Palantir. They haven't peaked yet with earnings. They haven't there hasn't been like this 1, 2, 3. Okay, they're pretty much making around 1.5 million. They're making around 1.3 million. We've had 3 consecutive earnings around that zone, and that's pretty much where they're at right now. No, Palantir's going 30, 35, 40% on top of each quarterly, to where it's growing at a mass rate here. So it leaves a lot of expectation. There's a hefty bull, an army of bullish investors pushing it up right now. So I think you should be excited. I think you should be alarmed that, Palantir, 114 could be cheap, considering where it could be Friday. I would fully expect Friday, Palantir could be at some ridiculous prices. Okay, more than I think more. I think it'd be hard to say that Palantir is not going to do well in this quarterly, okay? If I had to say that any company was going to annihilate their quarterlies this whole year, it's probably going to be Palantir. It's probably going to be Palantir. They're going to continue to do very well here. So if Palantir continues to move on this $3 to $4 basis with every 48 hours in the market, like it's doing right now, we will, by Friday, we will well be into the 120 plus zone, with Palantir, undoubtedly. So don't kid yourself. Palantir's done it before. It can easily do it again. There's no real reason why it can't. And listen, we've seen Palantir come out with quarterlies, banging quarterlies, and then the stock just runs. It just runs. And this is why you're seeing articles right now where they're talking Palantir having, stock splits sooner than later. We're talking about Palantir, God, the list goes on and on. We're talking from stock splits to running up to $500 a share. $1 trillion market cap. Like I said, you have Dan Ives here saying just, that he fully believes that Palantir is going to be a top competitor AI stock here for, the next, outlook of time here. They're not stopping. It's essentially, I think we can guarantee at least like the next 4 years, Palantir is going to do very well inside the White House because even before this administration, they were in the White House. They were doing very well in defense contracts, but now it's like they're infiltrating like NATO, all of it. Everything. They're just everywhere. So it's a fantastic situation. Now, friends, Big Bear. Okay, here's what I want to say about Big Bear. Okay, now an article was released today about. Well, let's back up here. Okay, Big Bear. Big Bear just last week received another defense contract. Okay, I think we all know about that. We're on the same page. Okay, we're there. Essentially for the defense, submarine, ships. Okay, now Trump has just released a hellacious, big spending bill on defense, submarines, building ships, everything. Big thing there. Okay, so we do not know as of right now how big this contract is. Now, Big Bear, the biggest contract that they've received here in the past 6 months is just right under $200 million. And that was spread out over, I think it was 3 point or 4 point. Someone, I'm sure, will correct me nicely in the comments, but I think it was for 3.5 years spread out over that zone. And that was in November. And then from there, they've received a bunch more defense contracts, but they've been littler too. So this is why, one, we're talking about Big Bear. They could have a decent quarterly coming up here. It could be not like, oh my God, quarterly, but like, okay, we're seeing some improvement. This is good. It's not great, but it's good. But with Big Bear just getting this, essentially this deal, it does leave the question, how big is the deal? When are the details going to be released of the deal? And that could really change a lot for what could happen here with Big Bear. Big Bear is trending around this 350 zone, and this is pretty much the safe point for Big Bear. This is where it's had trouble getting past this. So we've seen this time and time again where Big Bear does well, but once again we've hit this wall at this $3.50 range. Now, obviously, today too, Big Bear did hit around 380, so that was pretty positive. I will be honest, but more than not, it just kind of, towards the middle of the day here, the market kind of just started to fall apart here a little bit. But all in all, good day. So with that too, Big Bear has found itself in this very weird position right now, where you still have this bad news just coming in here about the whole lawsuit situation, about the financials throughout 2023, 2024, 2022. And essentially you have these law firms, saying, hey, if you would like to essentially go after Big Bear, contact us. So we're dealing with that. But we're also dealing with a lot of good news with Big Bear. So it's a very dicey, weird situation to be a part of with Big Bear, because, if you're investing in Big Bear, it's like, if you tell someone probably you're investing in Big Bear, it's, you probably say, I'm investing in Big Bear. Wait a minute, let me explain, because, there's drama with Big Bear. And then there's a lot of positives with Big Bear. So I get it. It's a weird situation. This is why I've been so critical every time I talk about Big Bear. Yes, there's debt. Yes, the lawsuit situation that hopefully will be cleared up here soon. And Big Bear needs more deals. It needs more deals. Now, with this new deal that I was talking about here, this partnership deal, however you want to clarify it, what we don't know how much they're getting from it at this point. It has not been made public. I don't know why it's not been made public. Usually these things are made public. But friends, I want to be completely honest with you 100%. I am still holding a large portion of Big Bear, okay? I believe in taking the risk in this stock, okay? I'm going to be completely honest with you. I've put the money that I've put in Big Bear, I look at that money and I go, okay, if I lose this chunk of money, then I lose it. Okay, it is what it is. It will hurt. It will suck. But I'm willing to risk this very, interesting situation that is going on with Big Bear that I find to be interesting. Okay, Big Bear is, what do we know? Big Bear is getting a lot of contracts with the government, with defense. And what do we know with defense contracts? Well, they usually keep coming, and if the company does good, they'll continue those contracts, and maybe they'll get even bigger. And two, when we saw Palantir do this around two and a half years ago at this point, Palantir started getting these defense contracts, but then they started to get other contracts from other companies. So I somewhat believe that a lot of things are like creatures of habit in business too, where, we could see, not that Big Bear and Palantir are the same or making the same kind of monies. It's obvious that's couldn't be more far apart from the truth. What I am hopeful for, and I have to be completely honest with you about this, is that Big Bear maybe could find itself in the similar road, that Palantir found itself on, where Palantir, 2.5 years ago, where they weren't even making $500 million, for each quarterly, which sounds, insane for Big Bear to make something like that at this point. But, Palantir it was caught in this place where people never thought it was going to do more than where it was. And this is real conversation. If you were watching Palantir, 2.5 years ago, this is a real thing that it was going through. The stock was struggling around, $7-10 on a good day. But then as we saw these government contracts continue to pile up, we started to see Palantir continue to get other deals with that. And Alex Karp, the CEO of Palantir, has talked about this, where he said, we have not really set out a sales force. Our business has come to us, and we've been more busy than we've ever been. And we really have not reached out to a lot of companies. They have reached out to us, and we're staying busy off of that. So that's a whole nother playbook for Palantir. But, going back to Big Bear, I am somewhat hopeful that Big Bear can find itself in that conversation. Now, obviously, it's going to take time. It's going to take emotions. It's going to take a lot of patience for people to hold a relationship here with Big Bear for that to happen. I get that 100%. And I do believe that if Big Bear was not going through this whole lawsuit situation right now, that with this bad press that it finds itself in, that it would be holding a $5, $6 position, undoubtedly, more than likely at this point, especially with this new contract news. Now, obviously, this new contract news has helped Big Bear get back into this 3 mid-range here. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that they can continue this. I really am. One thing that we have coming up here is this quarterly with Big Bear, and I can only hope that Big Bear, on May 1st, we see some signs of it's a better quarterly. It's a better quarterly. I'm at least hoping they hit a $50 million quarterly. Will they? I don't know. I don't know. But if they hit that $50 million quarterly, that will be the biggest quarterly they've received in forever. Forever. The company has not done business like that. The problem is the expectation of what Big Bear should be making compared to what they usually make on their quarterlies is always so high. Even their last quarterly Q4 of 2024, the expectation was right under 55 million. They came in with 53.8 million and some change there. So the difference is not good. They're missing money that they need to be making here. So it's safe to say the only reason any of us are here listening to me yap about Big Bear and you're paying attention to Big Bear is because of the defense deals, and that's okay. I think Big Bear knows that. Okay, I think it's no secret that their new CEO Kevin has a defense background. He has ties with Trump administration, Trump himself, and more than likely there is some rooted situation going on there and why they keep getting defense contracts. 100%. It's okay. We'll take it at 100%. So, friends, I'm going to be quiet now. I wish everyone the best of luck. I think it's going to be a good week. I think we're going to have a very nice week in the market here. I don't see any drama in the market as of right now, but even if we do see some drama, hey, we'll buy that drama up and we'll make money off of it later on a good green day. Friends, take care of yourself. We'll talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.